All right, we're on Numbers chapter 11. Verse 1 says, "Now the people became like those who complain of adversity in the hearing of Yahweh. And when Yahweh heard it, his anger was kindled. And the fire of Yahweh burned among them and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp." Well, the people complained, and it displeased Elohim. The people complained 3 times before Mount Sinai. And Mount Sinai was a pretty direct trip out of Egypt. They complained at Marah, in the wilderness of Sin, and at Rephidim. And these accounts are all recorded in the book of Exodus, chapters 15 through 17. And this kindled his anger, and his fire burned among them and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp. So look at verses 2 and 3. "The people therefore cried out to Moses, and Moses prayed to Yahweh, and the fire died out. So the name of that place was called Taberah, because the fire of Yahweh burned among them." So Moses prayed to Elohim, the fire died out, and the term Taberah means burning. Verses 4 through 6. "And the rabble who were among them had greedy desires. And also the sons of Israel wept again and again. 'Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish which we used to eat free in Egypt, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our appetite is gone. There's nothing at all to look at except this manna.'" Okay. So the people are complaining about the food that Elohim provided them. You know, they remembered how well off they were in Egypt. But you know, they've really got the highlights there. Okay, there was a variety to eat. But you know, they forgot they were slaves there. They had to work continually. And when they couldn't work anymore, they were whipped. They forgot about that part. Anytime an Egyptian wanted something, they had to get to it. They forgot how their baby boys were slaughtered. They forgot all that stuff. We don't have a variety in our diet. You know what Israel's lacking? There's one thing they were lacking here. It's that term gratitude. They didn't have a lick of it. They went from a life of continual slavery, beatings, and death to a life of leisure. They were wearing clothes that never wore out. To eat, what did they have to do? Go outside and get it. It was right outside their door. It was sitting there. They had all the herds and flocks and gold from Egypt. They had it all. They had it all. If they were complaining so much, why didn't they have some of the herds or the flock? Well, they're probably like this. Well, not my herds and flocks. Don't touch them. Well, not Tom's. Let's eat Tom's herds and flocks. You know, I bet it was a lot of that. What chores did they have to do? None. The manna that Elohim provided for them was so rich in nutrients, it wouldn't keep another day. That's how rich in nutrients it was. You know how you can take a Twinkie, leave it out of the wrapper, and put it in the barn, and the rats won't even mess with it. It'll last a long time. What are the nutrients in a Twinkie? Tastes good, doesn't it? Not good for you. But it's something, you buy that whole wheat bread that's got lots of grains in it. Funny thing about that, it molds first, doesn't it? It sure does. That white bread will last a long time, but that stuff with nutrients in it, it's the first that goes bad. And that's what they had. Probably the most nutrient-rich food imaginable. But the people were not grateful. All they did was gripe and complain. No gratitude. Remember that Prager video we watched here just a few weeks ago about gratitude? That is the one thing in the world. If you change the one thing in the world to happiness, all you have to do is change gratitude. Change ungratitude to gratitude. Grateful people are happy. Ungrateful people never are. And there's a lot of people, and nowadays you can see it. There's the more you give, the more they're entitled to get, or feel that they're entitled to get. But everything they get has to come from somebody. Everything that someone gets without having to work for was taken from somebody that had to work for it. That's always the case. And then you get a lot of ingratitude. Let's look at verse 7. Now the manna was like coriander seed, and its appearance was like that of bdellium. Now, I had to look this stuff up, okay? No, I didn't know what coriander seed was. My wife probably does. The color of bdellium, that's it there. Once again, it looks like it was very full of nutrients. Verses 8 and 9. The people would go about and gather it and grind it between two millstones, or beat it in the mortar and boil it in a pot and make cakes with it. And its taste was as the taste of cakes baked with oil. And when the dew fell on the camp at night, the manna would fall with it. So the manna could be ground and boiled in a pot, and its taste was like cakes that were baked with oil. And when you hear oil about that, it means olive oil. Yeah.
Are they too dumb to go out and butcher a cow?
I just don't think they wanted to do that out of their own flocks and herds. No, I think they wanted to keep what they had. They just wanted Elohim to give them more. That's what they wanted. Verse 10, now Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, each man at a doorway of his tent. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled greatly, and Moses was displeased. So Moses said to Yahweh, why have you been so hard on my servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight, that you have laid the burden of all this people on me? Was it I who conceived all this people? Was it I who brought them forth, that you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a nurse carries a nursing infant to the land which you did swear to their fathers? Well, here we go. It's this given thing. People are given things. They feel entitled to more. I like to listen to that group today that wants the free college and the free homes and the free food. They're interesting to listen to. Yeah. A lot of those things, that's what Israel was getting. Okay? Was free housing, free energy, cloud by day, fire by night, free everything. But what did they want? More. They wanted more. What you're doing isn't enough, is what they're telling the Father. Moses reached a high level of frustration due to the whining and the grumblings of these people of Israel. He asked Elohim, why the burden of this people has fallen on him. He made the case, he said, hey, they're not my kids. I didn't give birth to them. I'm not the one. Why should I have to breastfeed them? And Paul made similar statements about many in his day also. In 1 Corinthians 3, the first 3 verses, and I, brethren, could not speak to you as to spiritual men, but as to men of flesh, as to babes in Messiah. I gave you milk to drink, not solid food, for you were not yet able to receive it. Indeed, even now you're not yet able, for you're still fleshly. For since there is jealousy and strife among you, are you not fleshly? Are you not walking like mere men? In Hebrews 5, 12 through 14, Paul wrote, for though by this time you ought to be teachers, you have need again for someone to teach you the elementary principles of the oracles of Elohim, and you've come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness, for he's a babe. But solid food is for the mature, who because of practice have their senses trained to discern good and evil. And he's saying that they're not mature enough to handle the Torah. And they should go beyond these things of peace, love, and joy. Okay? Get past the emotion stuff and let's get into the solid food of righteousness. So you can be discerning to tell good from evil. There's a lot of Torah teaching in the Brit Hadashah. You just got to look at it and understand it's there. Going back to Numbers 11, verse 13. Where am I to get meat to give all this people? This is Moses talking here. For they weep before me, saying, give us meat that we may eat. And you're right, Tom. Kill a cow.
Right.
Slaughter a cow. Give a thanksgiving offering. I'm alone, not able to carry all this people because it's too burdensome for me. Why didn't they give a thanksgiving offering? Because they didn't have thanksgiving within them. They had no thanks within them. Why didn't he give us more? I alone am not able to carry all this people because it's too burdensome for me. So if you're going to deal thus with me, please kill me at once. If I found favor in your sight, do not let me see my wretchedness. Moses can't meet the demands of the people because he doesn't have the meat to give them. He says he'd rather die than listen to this complaining and grumbling all the time. And when Moses uses this term here, do not let me see my wretchedness, he's referring to the wretchedness who are his people. Okay? I don't want to see my wretchedness, which is this people, anymore. Verses 16 and 17. Yahweh therefore said to Moses, gather for me 70 men from the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders of the people and their officers, and bring them to the tent of meeting, and let them take their stand there with you. Then I'll come down and speak with you there, and I'll take of the Spirit who is upon you, and put him upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you shall not bear it all alone. Moses had already assigned men to help him with decision-making. This group was probably the same 70 men he took with him to Mount Sinai, and that's in Exodus 24, verses 9 and 10. Excuse me. Then Moses went up with Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the Elohim of Israel, and under his feet there appeared to be a pavement of sapphire, as clear as the sky itself. Numbers 11, verses 18 through 20. And they say to the people, consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you've wept in the ears of Yahweh, saying, oh, that someone would give us meat to eat, for we were well off in Egypt. Therefore Yahweh will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you've rejected Yahweh who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why did we ever leave Egypt? You know, Elohim's going to give them what they're demanding. He tells Moses to tell the people, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow you're going to eat meat for a whole month, till it comes out your nose. Verse 21. But Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 on foot, and that's just the men, over 20 and older. Yet you have said, I'll give them meat in order that they may eat for a whole month. Should flocks and herds be slaughtered for them to be sufficient for them? Or should all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to be sufficient for them? And Yahweh said to Moses, is Yahweh's power limited? Excuse me. Now you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not. You see, the frustration of Moses is pouring over. And even in the way he talks to Elohim. He wants to know where he's going to get enough meat to feed 600,000 men, plus the women and children. Verse 24, 25. So Moses went out and told the people the words of Yahweh. Also he gathered 70 men of the elders of the people and stationed them around the tent. Then Yahweh came down in a cloud and spoke to him, and he took of the Spirit who was upon him and placed him upon the 70 elders. And it came about when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but they did not do it again. Elohim placed the Spirit, which was upon Moses, upon the 70 also, and they prophesied. And what's meant by prophesying? That's speaking the word of the Father. Yeah, it's just speaking the Torah. That's what it is. And apparently there were words of encouragement to the people. That's what Moses tried to do over and over again. This is the only time the 70 did this, except for 2 of the men. 2 of the men. Verse 26, but 2 men had remained in the camp. The name of one is Eldad, the name of the other was Medad, and the Spirit rested upon them. Now they were among those who had been registered, but had not gone out to the tent. And they prophesied in the camp. So a young man ran and told Moses, and he said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Then Joshua, the son of Nun, the attendant of Moses from his youth, answered and said, Moses, my master, restrain them. You know, I told you my favorite names for twin boys. Well, this comes in third place here. Eldad and Medad, I think, need to be considered if you have twin boys. And secondly, Uz and Buzz. I think twin boys, Uz and Buzz, would be wonderful. And then naturally, number one is 1st and 2nd Samuel. But those are my top 3 names for twin boys. They're scriptural and unforgettable. Well, the twin boys, Eldad and Medad, were prophesying in the camp. And I'm sure they got them confused, you know. But Joshua thought they weren't fit to speak the word of Elohim. So he asked Moses, stop them from doing this. Verse 29, but Moses said to him, are you jealous for my sake? Would that all Yahweh's people were prophets, that Yahweh would put his spirit upon them, or his breath. And Moses told Joshua, don't be jealous for my sake. He said he wanted all of Elohim's people to be prophets, and that Elohim would put his spirit, his breath upon them. You know, Yeshua had a similar reaction when his disciples came to him with the same complaint. That's in Luke 9, verses 49 and 50. And John answered and said, Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to hinder him because he does not follow along with us. But Yeshua said to him, don't hinder him, for he who is not against you is for you. Going back to Numbers 11, verse 30. Then Moses returned to the camp, both he and the elders of Israel. Now there went forth a wind from Yahweh, and it brought quail from the sea, and it let them fall beside the camp. And about a day's journey on this side, and a day's journey on the other side, all around the camp, and about 2 cubits deep on the surface of the ground. And the people spent all day and all night, and all the next day gathering the quail. He who gathered least gathered 10 omers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. Now, it could be understood the quail were flying at a height of about 2 cubits or 3 feet above the ground. So they were flying real low, easy to capture. And I'm sure they used nets, could get hundreds at a time that way. Very easy. And among those who gathered the quail, the least amount they gathered was 10 omers. Now, 10 omers, I don't know if you know how much an omer is, but 10 omers is about 480 gallons. That's what the least of them gathered. Or 60 bushels. That's a lot of quail. Verse 33, while the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the anger of Yahweh was kindled against the people. And Yahweh struck the people with a very severe plague. So the name of that place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, because they buried the people who had been greedy. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the people set out for Hazeroth, and they remained at Hazeroth. Well, Elohim struck those who were greedy with a plague before they could even start chewing the quail. Okay, and I want to change the subject here a little bit here. Well, let me just ask a question. Is it being kind of strict to kill off people who are greedy, gripey, ungrateful? Being kind of strict?
I think there should be more of it today.
Okay, keep in mind, why are we going through this journey, we call life? So we could, he is conditioning us. Okay, we've gone through times. We all have. He's conditioning us to be a part of his kingdom. All right? No one gets a magic wand touched to their head. Bing! There. You're just what I need for the kingdom. That's not what he wants. He wants experienced people that have been through it, that have had difficulties, had tough times, survived them, thanked Elohim for them, and those who condemn, criticize, complain, whine, and moan, he doesn't want them in the kingdom. You want to be around them? No. He wants people that you and I want to be around. That will be obedient to him, that will love his neighbor. He'll weed them out. He'll weed them out. That's not our job. But that's what it means to be in the kingdom. We've got to be faithful to him and his ways. And he sees right away, these people don't fit. They don't fit. Well, there's a burning fire. There's deadly quail meat. I think I'd go back to that manna and just and smile. Yum. Thank you. Kibroth Hatava literally means graves of lust or graves of craving. We're not told how many people died from the plague, but the graves could refer to those who were burned with the fire. We don't know how many people died from this. It's a severe plague, it's all we're told. If they were just made sick or what, we don't know. Those that were buried, it could have been the people that died from the fire just, a couple days earlier. So, anyway, any questions on Numbers chapter 11? That whole thing about gratitude. When we're told in the Brit Hadashah or other places to pray continually, you got to keep reading. It talks about giving thanks. Okay, giving thanks. And that we should be doing. That's the kind of prayer we should be praying continually. Giving thanks.